Dr. Celeste Morgan was a legend in the hospital. Calm under pressure, composed in chaos. A woman of sharp intellect, clean lines, and unshakable focus. Residents revered her. Surgeons respected her. Administrators leaned on her like a pillar made of stone and grace. She was the one everyone turned to when everything else went to hell. Her voice could lower a panicking patient's heart rate, her hands steady enough to hold a scalpel with godlike precision. No one had ever seen her raise her voice. No one had ever seen her lose control. That's what made the rumors impossible. Because no one would ever believe the woman who walked the halls in pristine white coats and perfectly restrained chignons had a dark, wicked secret. No one but me. Because I was the nurse who discovered it. My name's Ivy Clark. Our nurse for 5 years. Adrenaline junkie, low patience for protocol, and high tolerance for chaos. I liked speed, mess, the realness of blood and sweat and shaky hands. I wasn't polished. I didn't play nice. But the second I met Dr. Morgan, something in me short-circuited. She was everything I hated, controlled, aloof, too put together to be real. And yet, I couldn't stop watching her. The way she walked. The way her eyes scanned a room like she was always calculating something deeper. The way her lips barely moved when she gave orders that people obeyed without question. She terrified me. She fascinated me. And then one night, she ruined me. It was late, past midnight. A Tuesday. We just lost a young man in trauma, a 19-year-old, chest full of shrapnel, who came in screaming and left silent. The room was cold. My gloves were bloody, and Celeste stood beside the gurney, hands still, face blank, eyes locked on the monitor that had flatlined 6 minutes ago. She hadn't spoken since she'd called time of death. If you enjoyed this content and want to support the channel in a special way, try clicking the thanks button below. It's the one with the heart and $sign icon. With super thanks, you can make a direct contribution to the channel, which helps me keep creating awesome videos for you. The rest of the team filed out slowly, one by one, until it was just the two of us. I pulled off my gloves, tossed them in the bin, turned to her. You okay? She didn't move. Dr. Morgan? Her gaze shifted slowly to mine. But it wasn't the look I expected. Not cold. Not distant. Not even professional. It was dark. Focused. Like she was seeing me for the first time, and what she saw made something inside her burn. You shouldn't stay, she said, voice low. Why not? Asked, folding my arms. Afraid I'll see that you're human too? Her jaw twitched. No, she stepped forward. I'm afraid I won't be able to keep pretending. The words hit harder than they should have. Pretending what? I whispered. She moved closer, closing the space between us in 3 deliberate steps. That I don't want to touch you every time you mouth off at me in front of a patient. That I don't imagine how you'd sound if I kissed you up against the drug cabinet. That I haven't thought about bending you over this gurney every time you roll your eyes at me. My breath left my lungs like a punch. You're not serious. I'm very serious, she said, voice like silk over steel. And very good at hiding it. Until now. I was frozen. My pulse was in my throat. My entire body suddenly too aware of how close she was. How powerful she felt, even without touching me. You don't even like me, I whispered. You correct me. You glare at me. I want you, she said simply. But you already knew that. I couldn't breathe. What are you doing? Breaking my own rules, she murmured. Just this once. And then she kissed me. Hard. Fierce. Like she'd been starving. Like control had finally snapped, and everything she'd been holding back spilled into that kiss. I stumbled backward, hitting the edge of the gurney, and she followed, her body pinning mine, mouth never leaving mine, hands gripping my waist like she'd been waiting years to take. Celeste, I gasped, her name foreign on my tongue like a sin. Tell me to stop, she growled against my throat. Tell me, and I will. I didn't. I pulled her back in instead. We didn't make it to a bed. We didn't need one. She shoved aside medical charts, lifted me onto the edge of the table, and kissed me like a woman who had played calm for far too long. And in that moment, I realized this wasn't new for her. This edge, this hunger, this fire, it had always been there, hidden behind polite smiles and surgical masks, contained inside the image of the perfect doctor. But under it, she was wild, dominant, addicted to control until she was ready to destroy it. And only I got to see it. That was 3 weeks ago. Since then, it's become a secret neither of us dares to name. During the day, she's the same. Composed. Untouchable. She gives orders without a flicker of recognition in her gaze. I respond like nothing ever happened. But when the halls are empty, when the ER quiets and the lights dim, she finds me, pulls me into storage closets, calls me into her office and locks the door, pushes me against supply cabinets with fingers digging into my hips and lips dragging over my throat. "You drive me crazy," she says always. "You make me reckless." "Then stop," I tease. She never does. And neither do I. But this thing between us? It's starting to bleed into daylight. She looks at me longer now in meetings. I catch her staring when she thinks I'm not watching. And I can't stop thinking about her hands when I'm trying to chart vitals. I'm not sure how long we can keep pretending. I'm not sure I want to. Because the truth is, the calm doctor everyone else thinks they know, she only exists between rounds. After hours, she's mine. And she's absolutely fucking wild. By the time the weekend rotation hit, the tension between us was unbearable. She was colder in daylight now, sharper, more clinical than usual, like every second of heat behind closed doors had to be compensated with an extra layer of ice in public. And maybe that worked on the others. Maybe the staff still saw the same composed, invincible Dr. Morgan who never flinched and never failed. But I wasn't fooled anymore. I knew what she looked like with her hair undone and her breath ragged, gripping my shoulders like she needed something from me she couldn't ask for out loud. I knew what her voice sounded like when she was whispering my name into the curve of my neck, saying, "I shouldn't want you like this," while dragging her nails down my spine. I knew her, and I was getting tired of pretending I didn't. That Saturday, we worked the same shift, 12 hours, back-to-back emergencies, too many walk-ins, not enough staff. She stayed silent through most of it, barking orders like always, keeping her distance from me like she was afraid of touching a live wire. But I caught her watching me, more than once. In Trauma Bay 3, when I rolled up my sleeves to stop a bleeder. In the hallway, when I laughed too loudly with another nurse. And especially when I bent over the nurse's station to reach for supplies, pretending not to feel her gaze burn over my back like a brand. I didn't call her out. I just let her stew in it. Let her fight the pull she refused to admit. But around hour 10, the tension cracked. I was leaving the on-call room after swapping out my stain scrubs, my hair still damp from a quick rinse in the shower, when I found her waiting in the hallway just outside the door. Alone. Arms crossed. Mouth tight. Eyes unreadable. "Looking for me?" I asked, voice cool. Her jaw flexed. "We need to talk." "Do we?" I tilted my head, stepping a little closer, feeling that familiar heat rise between us. "Because you've been pretty clear all day, doctor." She hated when I called her that like it was a weapon. Her nostrils flared, and I saw her fingers twitch at her side like she wanted to grab me and couldn't. "Not here," she said tightly. "My office. 10 minutes." I let her walk away first, hips swaying with practiced indifference. But inside, my blood was already racing. 10 minutes later, I knocked once, pushed open the door, and found her standing with her back to me, arms braced on her desk, head down. "So, what is this?" I asked. "Another secret make-out before you go back to pretending I don't exist?" She didn't turn around. "No, then what?" "It's becoming a problem," she said. "What we're doing." "Define problem," I replied, stepping into the room and shutting the door. Because from where I'm standing, it feels like the only part of my week that makes any sense. "That's exactly the problem," she snapped, turning now. Her eyes burned. "I'm not supposed to need you like this." I moved in slowly, stalking her like prey. "But you do." "Yes," she whispered. "And that terrifies me." I reached her, Pressed my palm flat against her abdomen, felt her muscles tighten. "What are you so afraid of, Celeste? You make me forget who I am," she breathed. "No," I said, leaning in, brushing my lips over her jaw. "I remind you." Her hands gripped my hips. Hard. "You drive me out of my mind." "Then lose it," I whispered. "With me." She crushed her mouth to mine like she was punishing us both for wanting this. Her kiss was all teeth and hunger, her fingers sliding beneath the waistband of my scrubs like she needed skin to survive. I gasped into her mouth, tangling my hands in her hair, pulling her closer, deeper. When she spun me around and shoved me against the wall, I moaned her name without thinking. "Celeste, say it again," she growled, dragging her mouth down my throat. "Say it like it belongs to you." "It does," I hissed, arching against her. "After everything you've done to me." She didn't stop until we were wrecked and shaking, her breath hot against my shoulder, her arms locked around my waist like I was the only thing tethering her to the earth. We stayed like that for too long, tangled in quiet gasps and rapid heartbeats, until she finally whispered, "I can't do this in pieces anymore." I looked up at her, searching her eyes. "Then don't." She pulled back, touched my face like she was seeing me in a way no one ever had. "You want all of me?" "Yes," I said, voice raw. "Even the parts one try to bury? Especially those." She kissed me then, slower this time. Sweeter. Like a promise. Like a shift. And I knew something had changed. This wasn't just release anymore. It wasn't just heat and hiding. It was real. And we were about to lose control for good. We didn't talk about what happened in her office. Not with words, at least. She cleaned herself up first, fast and silent, barely looking at me as she fixed her collar and smoothed her hair back into its severe bun. I leaned against the wall, arms crossed, watching her. My skin was still tingling from her hands, my body humming with aftershocks, but she acted like it hadn't happened. Like I wasn't still panting for her. Like her mouth hadn't just been on my throat 5 minutes ago. When she finally turned to face me, her expression was tight, professional, almost robotic. But her lips were still swollen, and the buttons of her blouse were uneven. "I have a consult in 15 minutes, she said, voice low. "Of course you do," I said dryly. She hesitated. Just a flicker. Her jaw twitched, like she wanted to say something else. But instead, she walked past me, unlocked the door, and left without another word. No goodbye. No look back. I stayed behind. I needed a minute. Maybe 10. Maybe the whole damn night. I wasn't sure whether I wanted to scream or laugh or chase after her and demand she say what the hell this thing between us was. Instead, I slid down the wall, head falling back, chest still heaving. I had never wanted someone the way I wanted her. And it wasn't just physical anymore. It was worse. It was in my head, in my blood, in the way I felt her eyes on me even when she was halfway across the hospital. The next day, she avoided me completely. She didn't page me once during my shift, didn't make eye contact during the surgical rounds, didn't even acknowledge my presence in the staff lounge, even though I could feel her in the room like a second heartbeat. She was back in full calm doctor mode. Polished. Unreadable. Cold. But I knew better now. I knew what that look meant. I knew what that restraint was hiding. It all came to a head 2 nights later. We were short-staffed in the ER. 2 car accidents back to back. Blood everywhere, screaming, broken ribs, half the team overwhelmed. I was elbow deep in a laceration when she came in, gloves on, face still and steady. "What do you need?" she asked me directly. "Pressure on the left side, deep sutures. I've got the rest." She nodded and worked beside me without hesitation. And for the next 20 minutes, we moved like one body. She handed me tools before I asked. I matched her pace without trying. It was perfect, effortless, and somehow worse, because even in the middle of all that chaos, I wanted to kiss her. I wanted to tear that mask off her face and ask her if she still felt it. Felt me. After the last patient was stabilized, I ripped off my gloves and walked straight into the empty storage room across from trauma. I barely had time to shut the door before it opened again, And she was there, breathless, flushed, alive. We stared at each other for a beat. Then I said it. "You're driving me insane." "You think I'm not already there?" she shot back. "You think I haven't been walking around for days trying not to remember the taste of your skin?" I stepped forward. "Then why are you pretending none of this is happening?" "Because if I let it happen," she said, voice shaking now, "I don't know if I'll be able to stop." "Then don't," I said, chest rising. "I don't want you to stop." She exhaled shakily. "It's not supposed to be like this. You're a nurse." "I'm my boss," I said. "Yeah, I noticed. That didn't stop you from pinning me against your desk." Her eyes flashed. "Don't push me. Push you." I laughed, dark and breathless. "You're the one who started all this, Dr. Morgan. You pulled me in. You kissed me first. You told me you couldn't stop thinking about me. So don't stand there like I'm the one who crossed the line." She stepped closer, her voice a low growl. "You make me forget who I am. That's what scares me." "Maybe that's a good thing." "I've spent my whole life building walls." "Then tear them down," I said. "Just once. With me." She looked at me like I'd set her on fire. And then she was on me, hands in my hair, mouth crushing mine, her body pressing me back against the shelves. It wasn't neat. It wasn't graceful. It was teeth, breath, fingers sliding under fabric, gasps swallowed by heat. And somewhere between her hands pulling my scrub top over my head and her mouth tracing a line down my chest, I realized this wasn't just tension anymore. This was obsession. Mutual. Dangerous. Irrevocable. When we collapsed on the storage room floor, limbs tangled, breath ragged, sweat drying between us, she didn't speak for a long time. She just lay beside me, staring at the ceiling. Then finally, quietly, "You terrify me." I turned my head to look at her. "Why?" She turned to face me, her expression softer than I'd ever seen it. "Because you see me, and I don't know how to be seen." I reached out and brushed her hair back from her face. "Then let me show you how." It changed after that night on the storage room floor. Something shifted, not just in her, but in the way she looked at me, in the way she carried herself through the hospital. She was still calm, still composed, still Dr. Celeste Morgan, the epitome of elegance under pressure. But now there was an edge, a charge, a hum beneath her skin. And I felt it every time she looked at me. Every time we passed each other in the hallway, and her fingers brushed mine in a touch that lasted half a second too long. Every time she said my name in that low, commanding tone that made my knees weak no matter who was in the room. We were better at hiding it now. Smarter. More careful. But not even the thick walls of professionalism could mask the heat building between us. I saw it in the way her eyes lingered on me during morning reports. In the way she hesitated before turning away in meetings. In the way she started letting her hair down more often, loose waves brushing her shoulders, softening that carefully constructed mask just enough to let me in. And I wasn't any better. My attention drifted when she was in the room. I'd forget my place in patient files. My pulse would spike every time I heard her heels click down the hallway toward me. But the problem with building something in the dark is that eventually it starts craving the light. And the light was coming fast. It happened on a Thursday. Quiet shift. Nothing remarkable. Until an elderly patient, Mr. Carlson, refused treatment unless the nice nurse with the sharp mouth was present. That was me. Celeste and I entered the exam room together. The air changed immediately. He smiled wide. "You two always come in together," he said. "I've been watching." I felt my stomach tighten. "Just a coincidence," I offered. Celeste cleared her throat. "She's one of our best nurses." Mr. Carlson looked between us, grinning. "Oh, I know what I see. The way she looks at you, doctor. That's not hospital business. That's something else." Celeste stiffened. "Let's focus on your blood pressure, Mr. Carlson." "Oh, it's rising just fine," he muttered, eyes twinkling. "Watching you two is better than television." We finished the check-in without another word, but the moment we stepped out of the room, I turned to her. "He's not wrong, you know." She glanced down the hallway, then back at me. People are starting to notice. Good, I said. I'm tired of pretending this doesn't mean something. Her voice dropped. You want people to know? I want you to stop acting like you're ashamed of what we are. That hit her. She blinked. Just once. I'm not ashamed, she said, quieter now. Then stop hiding like you are. She looked like she wanted to speak again, but a voice over the intercom cut us off. Code blue, I see you. Repeat. Code blue, I see you. We ran. And just like that, we were back in motion. Doctors. Nurses. The well-oiled machine. But for the rest of the day, something hung between us. Thicker than the silence. Louder than the alarms. That night, I stayed late, charting vitals at the nurse's station. Celeste passed once, didn't stop. The second time, she dropped a folded note on the counter and kept walking. I opened it with shaking fingers. Office. Now. I didn't wait. When I stepped inside, she was already pacing. Her white coat was gone. Her lipstick was smudged. Her hair was down, wild around her shoulders. Lock the door, she said. I did. She turned to me, eyes blazing. You were right. About what? I'm tired of hiding too. I stepped closer, heart thundering. Say it. I want you, she said, voice shaking. I think I've wanted you since the first time you challenged me in front of a patient. I didn't do it to get your attention. I know, she said. That's what made me crave him more. I reached for her, cupped her face. You're allowed to want something that isn't perfect, Celeste. You're not a mistake, she said fiercely. You're the only thing that's felt real in years. I kissed her before I could think. She kissed me back like it was the only thing keeping her from falling apart. We didn't undress. We didn't rush. We just stood there, tangled in each other, breathing the same breath. Let's stop pretending, I whispered. Let's be us. What if they don't understand? Then we show them. She pulled back just enough to look me in the eyes. Come to the gala with me. My heart stopped. What? The hospital benefit. Saturday night. Come with me. Not as a staff member. Not as my nurse. As mine. You sure? I asked, my throat tight. Once they see us together like that, I don't care, she said. Let them see. I didn't answer with words. I kissed her again. Harder this time, deeper, full of everything we'd both been hiding. Saturday was coming fast. And when it did, there would be no more secrets. No more shadows. Only the calm doctor stepping into the light, hand in hand with the woman who knew exactly how wild she really was. She didn't wear white. She wore black. Smooth, liquid black that clung to her like midnight and secrets, cut high at the slit and low at the back, her hair twisted into something that wasn't clinical or careful, just sensual. Free. I stood in the doorway of her penthouse apartment, suddenly breathless in my emerald silk dress, heels sharper than I remembered, pulse's steady scream in my throat. For a second, neither of us moved. Then Celeste stepped toward me and whispered, You came. I smiled, chest tight. You asked. She reached for my hand. Her touch was warm, sure, trembling only slightly. You look dangerous, she murmured. You should see yourself. She didn't kiss me. She didn't need to. Her eyes said everything. Want. Fear. Mine. The car ride to the benefit was silent, except for the quiet tension stretching between us like piano wire. She kept glancing at my thighs when she thought I wasn't looking. I kept watching her hands, remembering what they'd done to me in her office, in the dark, in the still heat of places we shouldn't have touched. This wasn't a closet or a storage room or a call room with a locked door. This was public. This was exposure. When we stepped out of the car, the cameras flashed like lightning. She didn't flinch. She laced her fingers through mine and walked straight into the ballroom like she owned the night. And maybe she did, because no one could look away. Not from the way she held me. Not from the way I didn't hide. The whispers started before we reached the first table. That's Dr. Morgan, isn't it? She's with, is that a nurse? God, look at them. I held my chin high. I could feel her hand tighten around mine every time someone stared too long. But she didn't let go. Not once. The head of surgery raised his glass when he saw us. Well, That's a surprise, he said smoothly. Dr. Morgan, is this your date? Yes, she answered, without a pause. She is. His eyebrows rose. Bold move. No, she said, her voice calm, cool, steady. The right move. I couldn't breathe for a second. I turned to look at her, but she was already glancing at me out of the corner of her eye. Just a flicker. Just enough. I'm here. I chose you. Dinner passed in a blur of tight smiles and narrowed gazes. We didn't sit with the other doctors. She didn't care. Her hand stayed on my thigh the entire time beneath the table, her thumb drawing circles that made my breath hitch every time she leaned in to whisper something innocuous that felt like a threat. Or a promise. You're making me crazy, I murmured, lips barely moving. She smiled without looking at me. Good. By the time the dancing started, I was vibrating with the need to touch her, to get her alone, to do something that didn't involve pretending we hadn't already crossed every line. She pulled me out onto the floor slowly, deliberately, her body moving close to mine like it belonged there. They're all watching, I said. Let them. She spun me once, and when I came back into her arms, her mouth was at my ear. You have no idea how badly I want you right now. Then take me home, I whispered. Do something about it. We didn't even make it to the bedroom. The moment her front door shut, she shoved me against it and kissed me like the week of restraint had broken her in half. I'm going to ruin you, she growled. You already have. She peeled off my dress like it was in her way, like she'd been waiting all night to get rid of it, hands dragging over every inch of my skin like she was memorizing it. I tugged at the zipper of her gown, breathless. You wore this just to torture me. Of course I did, she hissed, pushing me onto the couch and crawling over me. And now you're going to pay for it. It was wild. It was her. Not Dr. Morgan. Not the woman they all revered. This was Celeste. Raw. Uncontrolled. Mine. Hours later, when we were tangled in sheets that smelled like sweat and champagne, when her head rested on my shoulder and her fingers lazily traced circles on my stomach, she said it. Quietly, like it scared her. I love you. I turned to face her. Say it again. I love you. One more time. She smiled, kissed my cheek, my neck, my shoulder. I love you. I love you. I love you. I cupped her face, pulled her in, and kissed her until it didn't feel real anymore. Until it felt like the only truth that had ever mattered. In the morning, she brewed the coffee herself. No staff. No pretense. She wore a robe and nothing else, hair messy, skin marked by everything we hadn't been able to say with words. I have rounds at 10, she said. And the whole hospital's going to be buzzing. You worried? I asked. No, she said, sipping slowly. Because this time, I won't be hiding anything. We walked into the hospital side by side. No locked doors. No shadows. And when the whispers started again, she smiled. Because everyone saw her as the calm doctor. But only I knew the truth. After hours, she was wildfire. And now, the whole damn place would burn if she wanted it to. The hospital felt different now. Not because anything had officially changed, not because there were memos or new policies or staff meetings about workplace boundaries, but because they all knew. They knew about me and Celeste. They knew the calm, composed, terrifyingly perfect doctor had a weakness, and that weakness had a name. Mine. And while no one said anything directly, the energy in every hallway had shifted. Conversations paused when we walked by. Eyebrows arched. Whispers followed our steps like shadows, subtle but unmistakable. I didn't care. And to her credit, neither did she. Celeste walked through the halls with her usual grace, but now her eyes sought me out more openly. Her touch lingered a little longer when she passed me a chart. When she called my name over the intercom, her voice wasn't just sharp, it was personal. She didn't shrink. She didn't deny. But I could feel her bracing for something, holding her breath under the surface, waiting for the other shoe to drop. It came sooner than either of us expected. Monday afternoon. I was logging vitals when Marcella, the hospital's chief administrative officer, stepped into the nurses' station, all stiff posture and sugar-coated menace. "Ivy," she said smoothly, "Dr. Morgan's requested your presence in the boardroom."
Now.
My stomach dropped. Did she say why? "No," Marcella said, with a tight-lipped smile. "But I imagine you'll find out soon enough." The hallway to the boardroom had never felt longer. When I opened the door, Celeste was already inside. She was standing, back straight, hands clasped, every inch of her composed, but I saw the tension in her jaw. Saw the way her fingers twitched slightly, the way her eyes didn't meet mine. The rest of the room was filled with suits. Board members. Department heads. Marcella slipped in behind me and shut the door. "We've received complaints," she began, "about inappropriate conduct, potential favoritism, breaches in professional boundaries." I opened my mouth to respond, but Celeste raised one hand, just slightly, and I stopped. "I'd like to speak first," she said. Her voice was calm, level, but it trembled beneath the surface in a way only I could hear. "Yes," Marcella said, sitting back. Celeste looked around the room slowly, then finally let her gaze land on me. "I won't deny it. Ivy Clark and I are in a personal relationship. It began off-duty. It has not affected our professional responsibilities. But if you believe it compromises my position here, if you believe this hospital's reputation can't withstand the presence of a woman who refuses to be ashamed of who she loves, then go ahead. Remove me." The silence was deafening. My pulse pounded in my ears. She was ready to burn for me. She was ready to lose everything. "Celeste," I started, stepping forward. "No," she said, eyes locked on mine. "I won't let you take the fall for me. I led this. I made the first move. I risked it all, and I don't regret it. Not for a second." One of the board members cleared his throat. "Dr. Morgan, no one is suggesting you be removed, aren't you?" she said, sharper now. "Because let's be honest, if I were a man, if Ivy were some wide-eyed receptionist and not the most capable nurse I've ever worked with, this conversation wouldn't even be happening." Murmurs. Another board member raised her hand. "Doctor, please. No one here is questioning your competence. Then don't question my right to love someone who challenges me, who sees me, who makes me better both in and out of this hospital." I had never seen her like this. Not in surgery. Not in the darkness of her apartment. Not even when she was breaking me open with her mouth and her hands and her body. This was a woman who had held everything in for too long, and she was done. They didn't fire her. They didn't even reprimand her. Not out loud. But the tension stayed in the air like smoke. And when we walked out of that room, shoulders brushing, her hand slipped into mine without hesitation. "You didn't have to do that," I whispered.
"Yes, I did," she said.
"I've spent my whole life building a reputation on silence. You're the first thing I've ever wanted loudly." Later that night, she took me to her place without saying a word. She didn't undress me in a rush. She didn't slam me against walls or tear buttons from shirts. She just led me to her bedroom, slipped out of her heels, and looked at me like I was home. "I meant what I said," she whispered. "I don't want to keep you hidden. I want to learn how to love you in daylight." I stepped out of my clothes and into her arms. "Then stop learning," I said. "Just do it."
She did. Slowly. Sweetly.
She kissed every inch of me like a prayer, like a map she was memorizing, like she was building something that couldn't be broken by boardrooms or politics or fear. We made love without urgency, without pressure, without pretending we weren't both terrified of how much we needed each other. And when I collapsed into her arms afterward, her voice cracked against my ear. "You're not just mine after hours anymore." "Good," I whispered, holding her tighter. "Because I don't want the calm doctor. I want you." She smiled.
Soft. Real.
Unfiltered. And for the first time, she didn't hide. Not from me. Not from herself. After that night, nothing between us was hidden anymore. No secret glances. No locked doors. No pretending that I was just a nurse and she was just my boss. We didn't make announcements. We didn't post pictures, but the hospital knew. And Celeste stopped caring. She walked through the halls with her head high, her presence still just as intimidating, but now softened around the edges by something deeper. Something only I had ever seen in her. The wildness hadn't gone away. It had just evolved. She still kissed me like she was starving when we were alone. Still touched me like I was the only thing tethering her to the ground after a long day of leading, commanding, saving lives. But now, she did it with more than need. She did it with reverence, with love. I felt it in the way she helped me out of my scrubs after a double shift, kissing the back of my neck before running a hot bath. In the way she sent me texts in the middle of long ER nights. Hydrate. I'm watching you. In the way she started sleeping on my side of the bed, more often than hers. The hospital had learned to adjust slowly. Staff kept their curiosity to themselves. Some nurses whispered, but only when they thought I couldn't hear. Others, surprisingly, showed support.
Subtle.
Kind. Good for you, one whispered during rounds. She needed someone to remind her she's not made of stone. But not everyone was subtle. One night, during a particularly chaotic trauma intake, one of the newer residents made a comment, quiet, snide, but loud enough to hit. Guess being her favorite comes with perks, huh? I didn't react right away. I was focused on a patient, my gloves slick with blood, my mind in emergency mode. But Celeste heard it. She froze, looked up, and the moment her eyes locked on his, the entire room went silent. You have 2 seconds to apologize, she said calmly. Or I'll make sure you're never allowed back in my or again. The resident went pale. Dr. Morgan, I didn't mean one. I'm sorry, he blurted. It won't happen again. No, she said. It won't. The conversation ended there. The moment didn't. After the shift, I found her in her office, pacing. You didn't have to do that, I said gently. Yes, I did. She turned to me. I will never let anyone discredit what you've earned in this place. You didn't get here because of me. You got here despite me. I got here, I said softly, because you saw something in me no one else did. And I was right, she murmured. You're stronger than all of them. So are you. I stepped closer, wrapping my arms around her waist. But even you don't always have to fight alone. She kissed me then, slow and full of something deeper than heat. Full of everything we hadn't said during the storm of the last few weeks. Full of trust. When she pulled back, her voice was barely a whisper. Move in with me. I blinked. What? I'm tired of splitting our lives between locker rooms and overnight bags and your apartment that smells like old coffee. You like that smell. I love you, she said. And I want to wake up to you every day. I want to fall asleep with you wearing my shirt. I want you in my space, in my life, in every part of my world. I stared at her,
speechless.
Celeste, say yes. You're serious. Have I ever not been serious? You're always serious, I said, laughing breathlessly. That's part of the problem. Say yes, she repeated, softer now. Because I don't want you to be just my nurse.
Or just my secret.
I want you to be my home. I kissed her like it was the only answer. And maybe it was. We moved in together 3 days later. It was messy. Boxes. Schedules. Too many shoes. Not enough closet space. But I didn't care. I would have lived on her couch just to hear her laugh in the morning when I stole her robe. Nights became quieter.
Softer.
We cooked dinner together. She tried to teach me chess. I tried to teach her how to let go. She still had her fire. Still had that commanding power. But now I was part of it. Not just someone she escaped with, but someone she built something real with. One night, after a long shift, we stood brushing our teeth side by side, both half asleep, hair a mess, skin smelling like soap and hospital. She looked over at me in the mirror, her expression unguarded. You changed me. I smiled around my toothbrush. How's that working out for you? Terrifying, she said. And perfect. I reached for her hand, laced our fingers. I'm not going anywhere. Good, she said. Because I'm not letting you. That weekend, she brought me to dinner with her mother. That Monday, she wore her hair down to morning rounds. And by Friday, the entire hospital stopped whispering. Because we weren't hiding anymore. We were living.
Loud.
And every time I passed her in the hallway and she gave me that look, the one no one else got, the one that made me ache even after all this time, I remembered exactly what everyone else had forgotten. Everyone still saw her as the calm doctor. But only I knew the truth. After hours, she was wild. In love. And completely, irrevocably mine.
The peace didn't last.
It never really does when something is this good. This rare. This real. At first, it was subtle. A strange pause in Celeste's expression after checking an email. A missed dinner, then another. A closed laptop screen the second I walked into the room. I didn't press her, not right away. She was still her. Still in love with me. Still wrapping her arms around my waist in the kitchen while I stirred pasta, still pulling me into her lap on the couch after long shifts. But I could feel it. That old tension creeping back in beneath her skin like something she'd buried was starting to breathe again. Then one night I came home and she wasn't there. No text. No note. Just the apartment dark, quiet, too still. I waited. 10 minutes. 30. An hour. At almost midnight, I heard the front door open. She stepped in, coat damp from rain, hair curled at the edges, face unreadable. I stood. You're late. I know, she said softly. I'm sorry. Where were you? Her mouth opened, then closed. Then finally, dinner. With someone I used to work with. Someone, I asked. Or someone who used to know you before me? She hesitated. A consultant. From the hospital board. Thomas. Ah, I said, arms folding slowly. The kind who always used to linger too long after meetings? That Thomas? It wasn't like that. Then why didn't you tell me you were going? Her jaw clenched. Because I didn't want to fight about it. Because I didn't want to see that look on your face. The one that says you don't trust me. It's not about trust, Celeste. It's about the fact that you've been hiding something for weeks. Nothing happened, she said sharply. But something's happening, isn't it? I stepped closer, lower voice now. And it has nothing to do with him. It's about you. About something you haven't told me yet. Her eyes flashed. Hurt. Anger. Fear. But she didn't deny it. She sat down slowly, like the weight of what she was carrying had finally caught up with her. They offer me a position, she said. A hospital in Boston. Chief of medicine. Triple the budget. A full research grant. No strings. I felt the words before I fully understood them. Boston. They've been courting me for months, she admitted. Even before you and I became this. And you didn't tell me? I didn't want to make you choose. I sank into the chair across from her. You already made the choice, Celeste. You just didn't give me a chance to be part of it. She reached for my hand. I haven't said yes. But you're thinking about it. It's everything I ever worked for. Is it still everything you want? She looked at me then. Really looked. Like she was seeing the edge of the decision for the first time. Like she was weighing it against the way I was staring at her, jaw tight, chest cracked wide open. You don't have to come with me, she whispered. I would never ask you to give up what you've built here. I'm not scared of moving, Celeste, I said, voice shaking. I'm scared of being left behind. Silence. Thick. Brutal. Then, I'd never leave you. You left me in that decision. I was trying to protect you. No. You were protecting yourself. From feeling like you needed me too much. Her hand dropped. Her voice was barely a breath. What if I do? Then say it. She closed her eyes. And for the first time since I met her, I saw the woman beneath the doctor. The one who wasn't composed. Wasn't in control. Just raw. Human. Mine. I don't know how to live without you, she said. But I've always known how to live without everyone else. I swallowed. Then let me be the first thing you don't walk away from. She got up slowly, walked over to me, dropped to her knees in front of my chair like surrender. Come with me. Celeste, I'm not asking you to follow me, she said. I'm asking you to choose us. To build something new. Together. What about the life we built here? I whispered. We'll carry it with us. I cupped her face. You really think we can do that? We already are. That night, we lay in bed, fingers tangled, breathing the same air, every part of me aching with the thought of letting go of what was safe, of everything I'd known. But I wasn't afraid of her. Not anymore. I was afraid of losing her. And that fear didn't own me, it drove me. Boston, I said quietly. Do you think they're ready for the calm doctor? She looked at me, that wild spark returning to her eyes. Only if they never find out what I'm like after hours.
Too late, I said.
I'm bringing the handcuffs. Her laugh was soft.
Real.
And when she kissed me, it wasn't a goodbye. It was the beginning of a brand new fire. We left the city on a gray morning, the skyline disappearing in the rearview mirror as Celeste drove with one hand on the wheel and the other resting on my thigh. She was quiet but not tense, just focused. I'd never seen her like that, caught between who she'd been and who she was about to become. I watched her in profile for hours, memorizing every small shift in her face as the miles passed.
We didn't talk about Boston.
We didn't talk about what we were leaving behind. It was too big, too raw, too soon. But her hand never moved from me, and I never stopped holding it. When we pulled into the city, it was raining. The new apartment was sterile, the boxes untouched, the walls too white. It didn't feel like ours yet. But she reached for me the second the door shut. Her fingers tangled in my shirt, her lips finding mine before I could even take a breath. She kissed me like she was grounding herself. Like I was the only thing that made sense in this new world. Tell me this isn't a mistake, she whispered. You've never made a single one with me, I said. That night, we slept on the floor, curled in blankets, surrounded by half-unpacked pieces of our life. I laid my head on her chest and listened to her heartbeat until I drifted off. The next day was chaos. Meetings. Introductions. The new hospital was bigger, more modern, colder in ways that couldn't be fixed by lighting or architecture. But they knew who she was. They gave her the respect she was used to, the title she deserved, the authority she wielded like second nature. I stayed quiet in the back of the orientation session for new staff nurses, trying to blend in. She wasn't supposed to acknowledge me. I wasn't supposed to stare. But when she stood at the front of the room to introduce herself, she looked straight at me, eyes steady, and said, I'm Dr. Celeste Morgan. I believe in order, precision, and control, except when it comes to the things that truly matter. And she smiled.
Small. Sharp. Mine.
That night, I dragged her into a supply closet during rounds. Pinned her against the wall. You looked at me like you forgot you were my boss. I didn't forget, she breathed, hands already on my hips. I just didn't care. You're going to get us caught. You love it. I kissed her until she moaned into my mouth, and when we broke apart, breathless, I said, You're different here.
No, she said.
I'm finally the same person everywhere. I started working shifts within the week. It was hard. I wasn't her nurse anymore. I was just another face in the system. And that was good.
Clean.
Safer. But it meant I had to earn my place from scratch. I did. And then some. And still, there were moments. A glance too long. A smile that lasted a second too much. People started talking again. But not like before. There was curiosity, not suspicion. Admiration, not jealousy. And beneath it all, a sense of inevitability. Like everyone who met her, everyone who met us, understood without needing the details. She was the storm everyone respected. I was the lightning no one expected. Together, we didn't apologize for what we were. We made space for it. One night, 2 months in, she came home later than usual. Her jaw was tight, her movements off. She poured whiskey into a glass and stood in the kitchen without speaking.
Talk to me, I said.
The board brought up the relationship again, she said. Asked if I wanted to reconsider disclosure. I moved to her, took the glass from her hand, set it aside. And what did you say? That I have no regrets. Do you mean it? I asked, searching her eyes. She nodded. But I'm still scared. Of what? That one day you'll look at all this, the politics, the spotlight, the pressure, and you'll decide it's too much. I cupped her face. I didn't follow you to Boston to leave you in it. She leaned into my touch. I need you to promise something. Anything. That no matter how wild I get behind closed doors, no matter how much control I lose with you, you'll never forget the parts of me that still need to be held. Celeste, I whispered, pulling her into me. You're not just the wild doctor I crave in the dark. You're the woman I want in every hour of light too. We made love on the kitchen floor. No rush. No rolls. Just skin.
Breath.
Want. Afterward, we laid there, tangled, her head on my stomach, my fingers in her hair. You remember the first time? She asked softly. I couldn't stop touching you, I said. You were trembling, she whispered. And now I'm the one who shakes when you look at me like this. Because now, I said, there's nothing between us but truth. The next morning, she made breakfast shirtless, still wearing my ring on a chain around her neck, the one I'd given her in private, just between us, with no audience, no stage, just a promise. That this thing we had was real, lasting,
Alive.
The world could look at her and still see the calm, perfect doctor. But I knew better. I knew how fiercely she kissed.
How deep she craved.
How wildly, fully, recklessly she loved. And no one else would ever see her like that. Because she was mine, and I was hers. She proposed in the middle of the night. No ring, no candles, no speech. Just her, standing in the doorway of our bedroom in nothing but one of my t-shirts, eyes soft, hair a wild mess from sleep, and a kind of stillness in her voice that made everything else inside me go quiet. Marry me, she said. Like a breath. Like a confession. Like a surrender. I sat up slowly, heart pounding as I looked at her. This woman who once terrified me, who used to bark orders with surgical precision and touch me like she was afraid of needing anything too much. Are you serious? I've never been more serious in my life. You didn't even ask with a ring. You didn't fall in love with me because I follow rules, she said, crossing the room, sliding into bed, her fingers brushing over my wrist. You fell in love with the mess, with the heat, with everything I never let anyone else see. And you think marriage can hold all that? I whispered, blinking through tears I didn't expect. No, she said, voice like fire and truth. I think you can. I kissed her like the answer was obvious. Like it had always been yes. Like I'd been waiting to say it every time she moaned my name behind locked doors or whispered, I need you into my throat after breaking herself open between my hands.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
We didn't tell anyone right away. The engagement was ours, quiet and unpolished and perfect. No rings. Just matching tattoos on our ribs, inked in private, her heartbeat line wrapping under her breast, mine under mine. They touched when we lay skin to skin. We told the hospital a month later. She stood at the front of the staff meeting, hand in mine, her voice steady as always. This isn't an announcement, she said. It's an acknowledgement. The nurse you all know as Ivy Clark is not only my colleague, my equal, and the most brilliant trauma nurse I've ever worked beside, she's also the woman I'll be marrying.
Gasps.
Silence. Then applause. Real.
Full. Loud.
And in the middle of it, she turned to me and smiled like I was the only person who'd ever mattered. The wedding was small, not formal, not traditional. It was held in the courtyard of the hospital where we first met, under the branches of the same tree I used to lean against during night shifts, pretending not to watch her walk past. I wore a suit. She wore a white dress that fell off one shoulder and showed just enough of the ink to make me ache. We didn't write vows.
We didn't need to.
I looked into her eyes and said, You taught me that control doesn't have to mean hiding. That strength doesn't mean silence. That wild doesn't mean wrong. You are my calm and my fire. She looked at me like I was the only thing keeping her heart in her chest. You showed me that I could be loved at my most dangerous. That surrender isn't weakness. That letting someone see me really see me is the bravest thing I'll ever do. You are my truth. And my home. When the officiant said, "You may kiss the bride," I didn't hesitate. I kissed her with everything I had. Everything we had fought for. Everything we had survived. And when she kissed me back, the calm doctor was nowhere to be found. Only the woman who had ripped herself open for love. Only the woman who had chosen me again and again, even when it scared her. Only Celeste. We danced barefoot in the ER that night, long after the courtyard had emptied and the music had faded. She wore my jacket draped over her shoulders. I wore her lipstick on my neck. She spun me under the soft glow of fluorescent lights, and I laughed into her mouth. "We should be exhausted," I said. "We should," she whispered, "but I think I'm too in love to sleep." I followed her home. She locked the door behind us.
Push me against it.
"One more time," she whispered, lips in my jaw. "Let me show you how wild I can get for you. I've already seen it." "No," she said, unbuttoning my shirt, dropping to her knees. "You've only scratched the surface." That night, she touched me like she was memorizing her way back home. I held her like I never planned to let go. And when we finally collapsed into each other, skin damp, legs tangled, breath gone, she looked at me and said, "They can still call me the calm doctor. That's fine. That's who I am for them." I ran my fingers through her hair. And for me, her smile turned wicked.
Wild.
Hers. For you, I'll always be the one who loses control. Thank you so much for your support, whether it's by liking, commenting, sharing, or sending your super thanks. You make all the difference here on the channel. See you in the next video.